This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
.15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The central bank reiterates Sri Lanka's commitment to service forthcoming debt obligations. The European Union strongly urges Sri Lanka to lift import restrictions. Except for 11 countries, citizens in all other countries are allowed to arrive in the country without a visa. Steps have been taken to amend the Prevention of Terrorism Act. People accuse that there are political agents behind the health strike. The Prime Minister says government has overcome the COVID challenge. Over 11,000 recover from coronavirus. Foreign news, New Zealand sees a second day of demonstrations against pandemic restrictions. Sports, Commonwealth Games, e-sports are to be included as a pilot event. News in detail now. The attention of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has been drawn to certain recent media reports which have claimed that Sri Lanka is on the verge of a sovereign default. The Central Bank wishes to state that such claims are totally unsubstantiated and also regrets that these reports carry many obviously factual inaccuracies despite the availability of credible official data published by the Central Bank according to international standards. Therefore, the Central Bank wishes to assure the local and international investor community and the public that the government and the Central Bank are committed to honour all forthcoming debt obligations and thereby maintain Sri Lanka's unblemished record of debt servicing. Several draft bills were debated in Parliament today. Taking part in the debate, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said, workers face difficulties when court cases get postponed. He said legal aid service should be made efficient and should be expanded. He said there are about 16,000 cases filed against non-payment of EPF. Therefore, he said those cases should be handed over to the Labour Tribunal. MP Lakshman Kiriyalla said independence of the judiciary should be appreciated. He said new courts should be set up and more judges should be appointed to prevent delays in court cases. Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara said government is taking measures to amend the Prevention of Terrorism Act. MP Dr. Harini Amarasekara said amendments to the PTA are not enough. State Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara said there are only 300 justices to hear 400,000 court cases. People have condemned the strike launched by health workers. They charged that there are political party representatives behind the strike, which has been launched amid the COVID pandemic. Health Ministry said today 11,538 more patients have recovered from COVID-19 infection within the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country to 593,602. Meanwhile, 12,727 patients are being treated in the country at present. Sri Lanka has recorded 621,985 cases and 15,656 deaths since the outbreak of the pandemic. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of transaction fees up to rupees 1,000 when depositing funds to a rupee account from People's Bank.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says government has overcome the COVID challenge. The Prime Minister said criticisms were levelled when the operation to save the people from the challenge was handed over to the three armed forces. But the Prime Minister pointed out that the entire country is reaping the benefits of the decision now. Prime Minister Rajapaksa was speaking at the first meeting of a series of programs now taking place in Anuradhapura. The meeting had been organised to brief the people on the government's political and development programs, which are being held under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Minister Douglas Devananda says that all measures will be taken to stop illegal fishing by Indian fishermen in Sri Lanka's territorial waters. Taking part in a discussion with a group of Indian fishermen over video technology, he said, country's ocean resources cannot be allowed to be destroyed. The Indian fishermen requested to give them permission to do bottom trawling until they find another job. Civil Aviation Authority says except for 11 countries, citizens in all other countries can arrive in the country without a visa. It is effective from today. Chairman of the authority, Upul Dharmadasu, said foreign nationals have been given the facility to get the visa on arrival. The caretaker of All Saints Church in Berala, arrested for allegedly planting a hand grenade inside the church, was today ordered to be released from the case by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. Colombo Additional Magistrate Rajendra Jayasurya made this order following the Attorney General's advice not to proceed legal action against the suspect. Senior Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Apiris, appearing for the Attorney General, sought the court's permission to release the seventh suspect owing to insufficient evidence to prove criminal offences. And that ends local news for now.
Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of transaction fees up to rupees 1,000 when depositing funds to a rupee account from People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
According to data from Johns Hopkins University, global COVID-19 cases surpassed 400 million yesterday. The global case count amounted to 400,244,031, with 5,761,208 deaths worldwide. The United States reported 77,025,027 cases and 908,262 deaths, both highest counts around the world, accounting for more than 19% of the global cases and more than 15% of the global deaths. India recorded the world's second largest caseload of 42,339,611, followed by Brazil with 26,776,692 cases, as well as the world's second largest death toll of 634,057. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight, Tourism Minister Prasanna Rantunga said insurance limit for COVID insurance for tourists has been raised to $75,000 from $50,000. He said that obtaining a COVID insurance is a must for tourists arriving in the country. He said even though the insurance cover has been increased, the payment due from the customer has not been increased, and that amount remains at $12. He further said benefits of the insurance scheme have been expanded. And that was Watchlight. Moving on to a bulletin of world news in the headlines, New Zealand sees a second day of demonstrations against pandemic restrictions. Grace Tame says caller threatened against criticising Australia's Prime Minister. And Toyota profits fall as production hit due to global chip shortage. World news in detail now. New Zealand has seen a second day of demonstrations against pandemic restrictions, with protesters camping outside the nation's parliament. Inspired by large anti-vaccine rallies in Canada, hundreds of Kiwis arrived yesterday to stage new protests against vaccine mandates and other COVID rules. Protesters adopted a name Convoy for Freedom and blocked streets in the capital Wellington. But by today, their numbers had dwindled to the dozens. An Australian of the Year and sexual abuse survivor has said she received a threatening call warning her not to criticise the Prime Minister. Grace Tame made the allegation in an anticipated speech, saying the call had come last year from a senior member of a government-funded organisation. She added she was asked to promise not to say anything damning about Scott Morrison. The government has denied knowledge of the call and said it will investigate. Japanese motor industry giant Toyota saw its profits fall by 21% for the last 3 months of 2021 as the global chip shortage hit production. The company said that its third quarter operating profit came in at $6.8 billion. The world's best-selling car maker also cut its annual production target by 500,000 vehicles to 8.5 million. It comes as manufacturers around the world are struggling to find enough microprocessors for their products. Back to the headlines of the world news. New Zealand sees a second day of demonstrations against pandemic restrictions. Grace Thames says caller threatened against criticising Australia's Prime Minister, and Toyota profits fall as production hit due to global chip shortage. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take all out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
In development news, the government has decided to prioritise the implementation of a unitary digital identity framework. Under the proposed unitary digital identity framework, it is expected to introduce a personal identity verification device based on biometric data, a digital tool that can represent the identities of individuals in cyberspace and the identification of individual identities that can be accurately verified in digital and physical environments. And that was development news.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928. Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
In Commonwealth Games, e-sports are to be included as a pilot event at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. The inaugural Commonwealth e-sports championships will have separate branding, medals and organisation. Olympic Winter Games, Slovakia's Petra Vlhová won the alpine skiing women's slalom Wednesday at the Beijing Olympic Winter Games. Vlhová finished first in the second run to clock a time of 1 minute and 44.98 seconds in 2 runs for the gold medal. Lindsay Jacobellis of the United States won the women's snowboard cross of the Beijing Olympic Winter Games at the Genting Snowpark today. This is the second Olympic medal for the world champion. The IOC said medals won at the team figure skating event at the Beijing Winter Olympics have yet to be handed out because of a legal issue. The Russian Olympic Committee claimed the win on Monday ahead of United States and Japan. They had a mini ceremony at the venue in which they were handed Olympic mascot Bing Dong Dong teddy bears. IOC spokesman Mark Adams would not expand on what the issue was. And that was sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's wedding industry is to begin targeting the international destination wedding market as tourism recovers. The country, though a suitable location for destination weddings, has yet to tap into the potential of the industry. Brides of Sri Lanka magazine, Sri Lankan Airlines, Golf S Hotel and the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau have got together to launch a 2-day wedding show to be held from the 19th of February. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB You Trust.
In economic news, the European Union has strongly urged Sri Lanka to lift forthwith import restrictions that prevent many European products from entering the island nation's market. This was conveyed during the 24th meeting of the EU-Sri Lanka Joint Commission yesterday in Brussels. A joint statement issued by the EU and Sri Lanka said the meeting, which was held in a friendly and open atmosphere, reviewed bilateral relations and entailed an exchange of views and updates on a wide range of topics of bilateral interest. And that was economic news. And we move on to the weather report. The Met Department says cloudy skies will prevail over northern and eastern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the northern, north central, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Hambantota and Matale districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere during the evening or at night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places. And that was the weather report. And to end this news broadcast, back to the headlines. The central bank reiterates Sri Lanka's commitment to service forthcoming debt obligations. The European Union strongly urges Sri Lanka to lift import restrictions. Except for 11 countries, citizens in all other countries allowed to arrive in the country without a visa. Steps have been taken to amend the Prevention of Terrorism Act. People accuse that there are political agents behind the health strike. The Prime Minister says government has overcome the COVID challenge. Over 11,000 recover from the coronavirus. Foreign news, New Zealand sees a second day of demonstrations against pandemic restrictions. In sports, Commonwealth Games, e-sports are to be included as a pilot event. And with that, we end this news broadcast.